Hey everyone, and welcome to part 4 of creating a C-sharp RPG game. Now, someone in a previous tutorial suggested down in the comments that I should do something like assigning different stats to an RPG class. So depending on which class or which race you pick, you'll get certain stats that would be applied to them. Each one might be different. Warriors might have more health, mages might have more intellect, and so on and so forth for all your different classes. So certain classes probably wouldn't have a high amount of intellect, like a rogue or something like that. So some people want to actually customize that for each of their classes. Now there's multiple ways to do this. You could create a player for each one of your different classes and just enable the one that you want. You could go down here and you could put your different characters in here and only enable the one that you want to enable at the time. So if you made a mage, you would just only enable the mage character, or if you have multiple characters and assign it that way. But I'm just going to show you a quick way how I'm going to do this. So pretty much if we go back to our user stats, these were all the stats that we were creating before. I did add one new one, and this is going to be for our user class, so we know which class our user is. Now, from there, I went and created a basic stats class. And now this is something that we can use. It's similar to how you do the string or the int or whatever, and we're just using a basic stats. So what this is going to do is to actually allow us to enter in different stuff for this, and since we're putting in an array, it's going to display as a list of all those objects. And I'm just going to be storing it in here. You guys could have a world manager if you wanted to do it that way. But just for now, since this is going to be just a simple offline MMO, doesn't really matter too much. I'm just going to put it in here for actual character selection screen. So what I pretty much did was gather up all the stats that I wanted to use in here. So in my user stats, I just grabbed the different stats that I wanted to and put them in here. So for creating this, if you don't know how to create a class, you just create a C# script and name it exactly what you want. You're going to want to get rid of the mono behavior that's before this. You see it's just a public class basic stats. And I'm using system.serializable so I can actually edit all the stuff in here. Because when you add it to an array, you're not going to be able to see anything unless you actually do that. So from here, I ended up creating the array like I said before. So I'm going to go over this array really quick. And I just created an empty game object in here. Go to game object, create empty. You can assign it a different icon if you want or anything like that. And I just dragged and dropped my character select onto there. Now from here, what's going to happen, I can just redo this. It's not too big of a deal. It's going to be set to 0. So our array has nothing in it that we created, and so if we wanted to, we could hit something like 2, and it creates 2 elements. Now in each one of these elements are those stats that we were talking about in here. So all these different stats we can customize and edit and create whatever combination of numbers that we want. Now since these are the same ones, you'd probably just want to keep these each the same for the base and the cur, or when you go to apply it, you can actually just apply the cur to the other one. It doesn't really matter. This is just how I went and set it up. 7, 7, 25, 25. All right, so we have basic stats for this, and we'll just say mage. Keep it there, and we can create a new one named rogue, and we can go through and assign the stats for this. So, yeah, I'm just going to type in random numbers. Feel free to do whatever you want with this. I kind of messed that up. 733, like that. So now that we have our stats, our base stats for when we go to create our character, we can actually go in here to our character select. And I just created a few cosmetic things. You don't have to do this. You can apply it any way that you want to. I'm just showing you one way of actually assigning these stats to a character. So what I did was create a public bool class select window, which would be like a main menu type thing. So if you're on the main menu and you create a new character, you want to select a class, this is what this is going to represent. And then public game object user. Now this is what we're going to be using for accessing our user and accessing the scripts on our user, which is our user stats. So we want to be able to apply all the variables in here to our user stats. So what I also did was create this. So pretty much if this bool is equal to true, it's going to display both my buttons that are in here. And in here, we're going to disable the window after we've selected something. You can do whatever you want for that as well. And we're going to be doing assign base stats 0. Now, what this 0 and 1 does is it actually goes through the array and picks our class. So what you probably want to do is actually somewhere maybe label which class is represented by which number. So if we go in here to our character select and the all class stats array, mage would be 0, rogue would be 1. That's how we remember it. So when we're actually calling this script, assign base stats, and you can name this whatever you want, just wherever you want to apply it, it has to be within this code. So we're sending over a 0 or a 1. Now when we go down here, we want to grab the component for our user stats from our user. So it'll be grabbing that script off of my user. And then we're using comp to access that as well. Comp.userClass. So if we go back to our user stats, here's our user class string, which is one thing we're trying to change. And what we want it to be equal to is all class stats. So our array of classes, class chosen, which is the one that we chose, so that would be 0. So it'd pick the first one, dot user class. So in this class, user class is what's going to get plugged into our class. So it's just pulling the class that we made, and it's just assigning it to there. Now for this, I don't want to do everything. I don't want to go through and do all of this, but you can pretty much just reuse this stuff. Just change the thing you want to change. So we could grab the base attack speed. We'd plug it in there. All class is chosen, and since we kept everything the same, that's all you would plug into there to change it. So we'll save that really quick. So yeah, I'm not going to go over all that, but you can just keep doing that for each and every stat that you want to actually change, as long as you have it listed in here as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to select our player and jump in and not full screen. Okay. Player select, and we're going to change that boolean to true so we get that display. So we can see our character stats. So okay, we want to select or create a new class. I want to choose my first class. Assign mage 20, 10. So the stats from our actual mage class, the base stats got set correctly. Now what I could do is I could reopen that window again. And here's the mage. I'll click class 2. Okay, now I'm a rogue and these stats changed. So that's a simple way of assigning different classes. Like I said, there's a bunch of different ways about doing that, but this is a pretty simple way about assigning base stats to your character.